Today, Grand Theft Auto continues to exist, but won't someone think of the cars? This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint. Hey, you want to hear a funny joke?
Yes.
So do I. Remember Anthem? EA is trying to pretend they don't, as the long-teased, sweeping overhaul of the dismally received sci-fi looting-shooting live service has been officially cancelled. The so-called Anthem Next project was to be an almost total overhaul of the loot, the quests, the social activities, the difficulty, the progression, and the world map. According to Kotaku's Jason Schreier, a developer on the project says they were planning to change the game's entire structure. According to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, which is the same Jason Schreier, only more recently, EA was meeting with BioWare last week to basically check in on whether or not they wanted to keep bankrolling the salvage operation. And one of Schreier's sources said BioWare wanted to double or even triple the size of the 30-person team to better match the amount of work involved. We try not to give EA too much credit for anything, but you can't say they've fallen victim to the sunk cost fallacy, because that meeting evidently didn't go well, with that 30-person team being reassigned to other BioWare titles like Dragon Age 4 and the next Mass Effect. So at least they didn't get laid off. This isn't really a shock to people who've noticed the resignation or retirement of Anthem's senior producer, BioWare's head of live services, and even BioWare's general manager during the 2 years since Anthem's launch, nor should it be a shock to, let's be honest, anyone who bought it. You can still buy it, by the way. Also, do not buy it. I feel bad for the diehard fans who thought this game could be saved and held the same unproven belief in BioWare magic that led to the game's tumultuous development in the first place, but a truly successful total game overhaul has happened only twice. One was a small, nimble team. The other had a huge company in full support. This was a small team at a huge company with no support. In the announcement, BioWare's Christian Daly blamed the pandemic, and obviously we will give the benefit of the doubt on that one, but it's not like COVID prevented the original game from being finished.
A new cell phone charger has been shown on the web, and it is quite compelling. I hesitate to show you this next image because once you have seen it, you will mysteriously notice your wallet appearing in your hand. Do not be alarmed, for it is merely your limbic brain reacting as if your life depended on ordering it. So please, sit on your hands for this next segment. What you do with them after they have fallen asleep is your own business. That's right, a MagSafe cell phone charger modeled after a Pichu, happily squeezing your iPhone to its cheeks so it may charge. To my relief, the only thing that stopped me from investing my life savings in this product was learning that it is the singular creation of sculpture artist Nendo Yoshidin, and is therefore not actually for sale in any way, shape, or form. And now you see the true reason I had you sit on your hands, so that you would not immediately tear your hair out upon realizing that this terrifyingly adorable paperweight is not available to come to your home, to adorn your desk and slowly induce an electric current through magnetic waves into your cell phone in what is truly nature's most heart-melting depiction of Ampere's right-hand grip rule. And again, what you do with your right-hand grip after it falls asleep is your own business.
Good grief, it's happening again. A politician is trying to do legal things to video games because they think the games cause violence. Before I start, I'm going to be clear at the outset that numerous reports and studies have found no direct link between video games and violence, despite the repeated use of them as a blame vector by the media, the church, parents groups, and politicians. Like Illinois State Representative Marcus C. Evans Jr., who has sponsored a bill to amend a current rule in Illinois law that says you can't sell violent video games to minors, like every retailer already does, to outright banning the sale of violent video games to all residents of the state of Illinois. What kind of violence, you ask? Like the ESRB says on the back of the game box? No, in fact, violence as it pertains to video games is already laid out in Illinois law as video games that include depictions of or simulations of human-on-human violence in which the player kills or otherwise causes serious physical harm to another human. And they define serious physical harm as including depictions of death, dismemberment, amputation, decapitation, maiming, disfigurement, mutilations of body parts, or rape. Now, Evans wishes to modify that definition to include child abuse, sexual abuse, animal abuse, domestic violence, violence against women, and motor vehicle theft with a driver or passenger present. That last one might seem a little out of place, but you see, Chicago has apparently seen a steep rise in carjackings, with 218 reported incidents in January alone. And according to Evans at a press conference, quote, Grand Theft Auto and other violent video games are getting in the minds of our young people and perpetuating the normalcy of carjacking. You know what, Marcus? Can I call you Marcus? Your website calls you Marcus. You must be right. GTA 5, which came out 7 years ago, did have one of its best months in December, according to Steam Chart, and the reason it's dropped 100,000 concurrent players since then is that they've all decided just recently to go out and jack cars in Chicago. Surely there could be no other reason. Like maybe massive economic hardship, record-breaking cases of depression and anxiety, and the collapse of social safety nets in the face of a global pandemic that's killed almost 10,000 people in your city. Marcus, you're not going to watch this, but I mentioned your website. I've read your website. You got some excellent ideas. Tax the rich, fight for 15, money for schools. But this makes you look like an idiot, because anyone who plays Grand Theft Auto and uses that as an inspiration to go out and try carjacking for real in Chicago is going to be very surprised at how badly it goes.
id Software has been thinking about creating a female Doomslayer. Rather than just run our old female character sketch again, I thought I'd dig into the quotable details from the live stream where they brought this up. id's Hugo Martin said they don't want to do a simple model swap, kudos, but that they want the female Slayer to be unique. Here are his thoughts, interspersed with my thoughts. Quote, I think if we did it, I'd want it to be lethal. No worries there. We already know it's way more dangerous to be a woman in today's society than a man, so that's covered. Quote, I think it's interesting how it would impact the glory kills and the weapons that she would have. I can help with that. If video games have taught me anything, traditionally the only weapons women can use are bows, spears, chakram, dancing slippers, magic wands, magic books, and magic staves. So it's exciting to hear Hexen will be getting a spiritual sequel. Quote, the fighting style would certainly be all aggression, absolutely, but a different type of aggression. What on earth does this even mean? What's a different type of aggression? Do you mean emotional aggression? Because, hey, I really enjoyed Super Princess Peach, but I wasn't looking forward to a sequel based in a hell dimension. Quote, tonally, when it comes to designing the action, you think about, if the Slayer is a Ferrari, then what would a female Slayer be? Christ, I don't know, Guy. Is that what we think about, really? Is that the problem we have to solve to get a little gender parity? Fine. If the Slayer is a Ferrari, then the Lady Slayer is that car from Cars. You know, the lady car? This one. Sally, yes. There's your Lady Slayer. Now what? This is an impossible question to answer because, to be honest, the Doomslayer's already so roided up and covered in anonymizing armor that a female equivalent is going to look exactly the same. But hey, maybe that's a cop-out, and we deserve a unique design that'll excite all manner of people and draw new fans to the Doom franchise. And if that's the case, I don't even know why we're asking what a female Slayer would look like. We already have our answer.
BlizzCon happened, and there was a bunch of whatever about video games they make, and I hope you have fun doing Burning Crusade again. The biggest thing that landed on social media from BlizzCon was when the Twitch broadcast abruptly replaced the audio of Metallica's live performance with royalty-free chiptunes, presumably, because we don't actually know, to avoid a DMCA takedown notice. Everybody fell about the place laughing at how silly Metallica looked, especially because it was extra ironic since they're a big part of why platforms like Twitch and YouTube have to deal with the DMCA in the first place. I thought it was absolute comedy, and it got reported this way by a lot of outlets. They're a part of why this even needed to happen. Except they're not, and I feel bad for being wrong about that, so now you get to also. I will say, though, that the video of Metallica shredding their set while JRPG Village music is playing is objectively funny. Let's watch it together. So, The DMCA, that thing what no platform owner seems to understand how to handle, is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and it came into U.S. law in 1998. It was a way for the U.S. to implement 2 treaties of the World Intellectual Property Organization. The U.S. had agreed to comply with 2 separate 1996 treaties that dealt with copyright in general and music or vocal performances in specific, and lawmakers realized that the existing system of U.S. copyright law didn't work for that and needed an overhaul. Of course, then publishers got involved and the whole thing got kind of messy, though honestly not as bad as it could have been. But to illustrate how convoluted law is, Title 5 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act exists solely to protect the designs of boat hulls. The DMCA passed the U.S. Senate by unanimous vote, which is possibly the weirdest part of this whole thing, and was signed into law in October 1998. That's the DMCA, the horrible little gremlin that makes YouTube bend over backwards to companies who think they get to decide what fair use is. Important to this story, though, 1988 was before 1999, which is when the file-sharing app Napster launched. The Recording Industry Association of America would immediately sue Napster for facilitating the distribution of copyrighted music. And then Metallica would get involved with their own lawsuit in April 2000 after their track I Disappear from the new Mission Impossible movie somehow leaked and fans used Napster to spread it around the internet from peer to peer. Napster eventually settled their lawsuits. Dr. Dre sued them as well, but the damage was done to all parties. Napster failed to appeal the original RIAA lawsuit and was forced to eventually shut down, while Metallica were seen by the high schoolers of the day as the out-of-touch old men who greedily shut down free music. So Metallica wasn't even the most important lawsuit in shuttering Napster, they were just the most vocal faces. And the actual long-term effects of those lawsuits was to popularize the notion of streaming music, leading to the state of things today. So I guess in some way you can blame Metallica for Spotify existing, but the DMCA was already a law, and a law that deals with a different kind of music on the internet. The only thing Metallica has in common with DMCA is that they both vastly underestimated the impact of technology on music distribution. Anyway, that clip is still hilarious. One more time, Paul.
So, did they announce anything interesting at BlizzCon?
Oh, right. That was supposed to be about BlizzCon. I don't know. After the Metallica thing, it was hard to remember very much.
Oh, right, because the sound got muted.
No, I was laughing so hard I passed out.
Coming up, Epic Games somehow got a court to agree that they can settle their Fortnite Save the World loot box class action lawsuit by paying out in V-Bucks. Over $78 million worth of V-Bucks. That definitely will not cost them anywhere near, not even a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent of $78 million. Now that's epic.
Recording. Ow.
When it comes to designing the Axion... I had a weird stumble earlier anyway. Might as well just go back. Axion.
Designing the Axion.
All right. Take 2.
Lean off the mic for Paul's benefit. I am over here. I'm using my... Sorry, what? Nothing. Sorry.
Okay. Then the Lady Slayer is that car from fuck.
That coming up, I wrote very late because I was going to write one about the BlizzCon thing. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It was like, oh, that'll be funny. We'll do the thing. And I can't remember what specific thing I wanted to check, but I was like, I need to check one thing to make the joke correct because I like my jokes to be factually accurate.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, wait, hang on. And I started reading, like I was reading about the Metallica v. Napster lawsuit and the RIAA thing, and then like when the DMCA started and like how the DMCA happened, like what its origins were, because it literally was in 96.
Yeah.
They were like, yes, we agree in principle to sign on to those 2 treaties. We just have to figure out how to incorporate them into U.S. law. And then they did that. And that was before all the Napster stuff. And I was like, wait, hang on. Because me, absolutely, and lots of other places online were like, haha, Metallica, the reason the DMCA exists. And it's like, no, Not even a little bit. And they weren't even the lawsuit that actually killed Napster. That was the RIAA thing. But I remember watching, I don't know if you ever watched this, but I remember watching like Flash animations.
Oh, I remember the exact one you're talking about, with James Hetfield being like, Napster bad! Yeah, everyone knows that one.
Yeah, Camp Chaos was the, I don't know what that person's doing now, but yeah, it was like, James Hetfield looking like a Neanderthal and like
Lars Ulrich, like crawling around like Salacious Crumb, like
yeah, exactly, yeah, and it was just like, yes, of course, yes, they hate the Napster, and you know,
what a satirical takedown.
Yeah, well, exactly, you know, and it was hilarious, and it's like they want to, you know, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's great, this is how it should work, we should, you know, do the free music, this is awesome. And there was divisions even at the time with like some artists being like, no, I'm not Metallica. I think it's great. You should use Napster.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it was, because I was reading a lot last night.
Yes.
It was Limp Bizkit even did a tour that was free. That was sponsored by Napster because they got like $15 million in investment capital for some reason.
Yeah.
My favorite one though, because the Napster's argument was that it's like you share it. You're not giving it, it's sharing.
Yeah.
You can philosophically get into the weeds about piracy and stuff, and I'm not going to do that right now. But the idea was that, I have an MP3, I will share it with a friend, it never expires, and then they will go, oh, this new music, great, I'll go buy it. Right. And so at the MTV Video Music Awards that year, the year Metallica got booed, because people were like, no, you're hurting music or whatever.
Yeah.
One of the award presenters was the guy who founded Napster, who came on stage wearing a Metallica shirt.
Oh my God.
And his like co-presenter was like, nice shirt. And he went, yeah, I'm borrowing it from a friend, but I think I might buy my own soon.
Wow.
Not the same thing, because the friend now doesn't have the shirt. You can't make that. But at the time, everybody was like, oh, that's so sick.
Yeah.
It was like, it was only 20 years ago, but it was considered a sick dunk at the time.
Absolutely.
Good God, this was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and they didn't know what this was. It's like, wait, our song is leaked and now everyone has. They heard it on the radio.
Yeah.
They're like, how did this happen? We have to sue to stop this from happening.
We haven't had somebody stole that music from somewhere and is now giving it out to the world for free.
The original Napster was around for like 2 years at most.
Yeah.
And like it was then the cat was out of the bag, and it was like, oh well, Napster died. Luckily, we have Kazaa and LimeWire.
Yeah, and other ways to download viruses onto my computer.
Oh, so many ways to download viruses. Thank goodness I had a Mac. Jesus.